Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Trent Advantage for Employers. My name is Ryan Sisson. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Deanna DeVito and Juliana Stonehouse, and we are so pleased again to present the Trent Advantage for Employers. We've had two sessions, one July 7th and tonight's July 8th. We are really, really excited to spend some time with you talking about the services that Trent University, through our career space, provides for employers, as well as the services that we provide for students to prepare them for their career journey. And we really, really are excited tonight to explore some different ways that you might be able to engage with Trent. Perhaps you've worked with us in the past. Maybe it's been a few years. There are so many ways that we'd love to work to support your business or your enterprise. So as we're waiting to get started here, I'd like to go ahead and just say a quick take a few moments to provide a land acknowledgement. We do respectfully acknowledge that Trent University is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, which is collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. We acknowledge that Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the land, as well as the waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health, as well as the integrity for generations to come. And I, for one, offer my deep gratitude to the Mississauga and the Chippewa Nations for their care and for their teachings about both our earth as well as our relations, and may we honor those teachings. Okay, so I'd like to, just before we get started, would like to just welcome you again and provide you with a few housekeeping tips. So Deanna, Juliana, and myself will be taking you through the Trent Advantage for Employers. Over the course of our webinar, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions, and we would just ask that you use the Q&A button at the very bottom of your screen. You'll have the opportunity to type your questions in there. We'll be monitoring those as we proceed through the webinar, and we've left some time at the end of the webinar to answer those questions. So we would greatly appreciate you reaching out for any clarity, or if there's something that you'd like us to cover or address that we've missed, we'd love to hear from you. So please do use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the theme for tonight is providing the Trent Advantage for employers. So we're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about career space, who we are, what we do, what some of the employer services that we offer, what they are. We're also going to walk through this term experiential learning. You hear that a lot. We certainly do in academia, but you might be curious what that term means. So we're going to unpack that for you and explain some of the different opportunities that might appeal to you and to your enterprise. We're also going to provide some case studies, so some examples of what experiential learning can look like for your particular organization. And then, as I mentioned again, we'll have an opportunity for some questions and answers. Okay, so I'd like to start by playing the short video.
Career Space, our on-campus career center and experiential learning hub, is located on the top floor of the Student Center. All Trent students are guaranteed to have a career-related experiential learning opportunity before they graduate. Talk about an incredible way to gain the upper hand as you enter into the workforce. Through Career Space at Trent, students in all programs have the opportunity to tap in to nearly limitless combinations of academics, in-class learning, and practical career experiences, with access to interview training, resume assistance, and a list of companies ready to give you some real-life experience. Let Career Space show you the way to your own unique idea of success.
All right. So we'll throw things over to you, Juliana, to talk a little bit about Career Space and the services that we provide.
Thanks so much, Ryan, and thanks everybody for joining us this evening. My name is Juliana Stonehouse, and I'm a Student Experience Coordinator with CareerSpace, and so pleased to be here to let you know about some offerings that we have at CareerSpace for you business owners and industry partners. So what is CareerSpace? CareerSpace is really a conduit between students and our industry partners and employers to make sure that those two groups of people are having their needs met. So we have a whole bunch of students who are very, very dedicated and passionate to their field of study at Trent, and they're also keen to get hands-on work experience. So they want to take that knowledge from the traditional classroom setting and apply it to real world situations. And this is where the employer piece comes in for us, because in our conversations with our industry partners and other employers, in the region and beyond, they're looking for bright, new, young talent that can help tackle some of these issues. And we've found very meaningful partnerships and placements for students that both parties have benefited from. So really it is a conduit between both those parties. We're just looking to check off all of the boxes for students looking for work experience and then industry partners looking for that bright new talent. Next slide, please. So for expanding on the offerings that we have for employers, please know that when we send our students out into the world to interview and when you see their resumes, they are being very well supported by our department. I think Ryan is also going to talk about this a little bit later in the presentation. So we do have one-on-one appointments and workshops ready to go for students to cover over their resume, to do some interview prep, and to offer some career counseling. For industry partners, we have, in addition to those placement opportunities that I know Deanna is going to talk about, we have a student job board. So this is a job board that you as the employer can reach out to us. We could create an employer profile for you. You get to post jobs. And in addition to that, we can take those jobs and we can further narrow the scope and actually connect with the departments, the academic departments and that are related in the field of study of the job you're looking for. So for example, we have lots of farmers around Peterborough looking for some extra help with, farm to table processing, and so we've targeted that towards our food sustainability and agricultural students and have come up with some really amazing partnerships there. So we have a job board that you're able to access. In addition to this, we also have recruitment events. So you can come to campus. We're hoping to do more of that in person in September, but whether we're in person or not, we have virtual available as well, where you can, come to campus or be on a Zoom call with a group of students and you can showcase what you're looking for and do some recruiting of interested students. We also have larger scale recruitment events such as our Volunteer Expo that's happening this fall, as well as our Career and Experience Expo, which is happening in January and February of 2022. Next slide, please. Also, part of the engagement, this is a really interesting thing. It really is student driven. So several years ago, we had students coming to us, as well as the alumni department saying, I really would love to connect with an alumni or an industry partner that's related back to my field of study and just have a conversation with them. So this is where our new program called Life After Trent has come in. And as you can see there, we offer 6 different types of events. So this past year, the Life After Trent online was extremely popular, where we invited alumni and industry partners from different employment sectors to come and speak to students about their own personal story, how they got to where they are, and then tips and tricks about networking and how to show up to, what is expected out there in the workforce. So it's boots on ground information for the students, and they found it very helpful. Then we have Trent UConnect, which I'll talk about in the next slide. We also were very fortunate to have a whole group of very talented alumni that come back to do a professional in residence. We have a Life After Trent club that's an after hours sort of in-person, very casual for alumni and industry partners to network and mingle with students. Again, information sharing. Then our Life After Trent workshops, which are mainly targeted towards students in terms of offering support with resume, networking, that sort of thing. However, we also are looking to expand that program to bring in some guest speakers, such as employers such as yourselves, to help guide those conversations. What are employers looking for in today's job market that makes a resume stand out from the others? Great. And here, the networking and mentorship, Trent UConnect. So this has appeared in the last slide. This is an amazing program that we've been able to get through the very generous philanthropic donation from RBC Future Launch. It's an online networking system where you create a profile, and based on your interests that you state in your profile, you are then matched with another individual with similar interests. So a student that is in business and is looking to speak with somebody in that field, an alumni or industry partner, there's a match that happens every month, and then you get to have a chat on your own time. One of our great students, Alex, had a wonderful experience this year using Trent UConnect. This is also an added bonus for you as the employer, because you get to expand your network. Not only you're mentoring students, which is a wonderful thing to do, but you get to expand your network and talk to staff, faculty on campus as well. And that has proven to be very beneficial to a lot of our industry partners as well. Next slide, please. So this is where I'll turn it over to Deanna, and she can get into the meat of what EL actually means.
Perfect. Thanks, Juliana. So let's just talk a little bit more about experiential learning at Trent University. And I mean, the main question here is, what does experiential learning, or EL, mean? So experiential learning at a high level is an opportunity for students to deepen their classroom learning through experiential opportunities, so experiences, whether that's a guest speaker or field trip or something more involved, like a summer work experience or co-op. So it's an opportunity for the students to put their classroom knowledge into practice, really. The main players in experiential learning are the students, community members, faculty, and staff. So for students, they really do have a wide variety of options available for them at Trent. We'll be diving into that a little bit later, which means that as employers, you really have a wide variety of options for connecting with students. Experiential opportunities at Trent are open to both undergraduate and graduate students. For community hosts or industry partners, this really includes any community organization that works with us. So it can include businesses, not-for-profits, government organizations, and more. And when we talk about community, it's not just limited to Peterborough and the surrounding areas. We welcome connections with organizations across Canada and across the world. For faculty members, they have rich, deep, and varied experience with classroom experiential learning and research, and they can offer support and insights to students as the students embark on these many experiences. And lastly, we have the staff, such as ourselves. We really help to grow the opportunities, connect with community members, and generally ensure that all parties are working together and growing together and really helping to deepen those relationships. So to get a bit more specific, we have two main types of experiential learning that we talk about a lot. Think of these like, big umbrellas, the big catch-alls. So the first we have is curricular. These are opportunities that are associated with academic credit. They tend to be part of a student's academic program. They can happen inside or outside of a classroom. And if they do happen outside of a classroom, they do require engagement of an employer or an industry partner. Some examples of these include opportunities like co-ops, internships, or field placements. For these, students are placed with an organization for a period of time in a specific role. Another example is industry-driven projects or community-based research. For these, students aren't necessarily placed with an organization, but they can help you solve a problem or a side project that you've been putting off for a while. So it's a little bit, the intensity is a little bit lower for the community organization. The second umbrella is co-curricular opportunities. These occur outside the classroom and are not associated with academic credit. So they're really outside of a student's program of study. They can involve volunteering with the community and occasionally involve an employer or an industry partner. One main example of this is summer work experience, where a student works for a summer to make some money. And they frequently look for these opportunities to help them define their professional journey and career prospects. Something that we'll be focusing on today is curricular experiential learning. So if you're interested in co-curricular opportunities, definitely make sure to note down our email and reach out and chat. We can discuss your needs in more depth and figure out what opportunity would be right for you. So as I mentioned before, curricular opportunities include learning that complements degree requirements. To build on some of the examples I mentioned in the previous slide, we've got a few more here. So one really big one at Trent is professional practicums or clinical placements. So these are degree requirements that are within specific programs and built into the structure of a student's courses and schedules. Field placements and experiences are another really good option, and these can occur both domestically and internationally. They're often unpaid and for academic credit, though they can also be paid as well, and we definitely strive to ensure that students have paid opportunities. And lower intensity activities can include things like performances, simulations, and direct participation in the academic or professional conferences. These can help grow a student skill set, and they're often those lighter touch activities. So in the following slides, I'll be talking a little bit more about some opportunities that we have specifically available at Trent. So two of our biggest opportunities at Trent are placements and practicums and cooperative education. So the programs that offer field placements include the following: our professional programs, which I mentioned on the last slide, like nursing, education, and social work. These students spend a high percentage of their time in their degree on placement because they are learning job-specific skills to help them succeed once they graduate. Other programs include forensic sciences, medical sciences, and sustainable agriculture. Our School of Business is also a really big opportunity area. They have a variety of different specializations, including areas like HR, accounting, finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, and more. And we also have a very strong political science placement program for our poli-sci students. We also have two cooperative education programs. So in these, students are directly placed into co-op upon admission. So the two programs are computing systems, or better known as computer science, and conservation biology. If you're interested in hiring students that are specifically in these programs, definitely reach out, send us an email, and we can connect you directly with the placement coordinators. Another really great opportunity at Trent is community-based research, which is facilitated by the Trent Community Research Center. My colleague Ryan will be diving into this a little bit later, so stay tuned. It really is an amazing opportunity. Other opportunities we offer include thesis, field study courses. So this is where students would go into the field to augment their learning, research assistant positions, and reading courses designed for research purposes. One great thing is that all curricular opportunities, no matter what they are, help to prepare students for career success upon entering the workforce. And every student, as you heard in the video, every student is guaranteed an experiential learning opportunity during their degree, which means they're definitely better prepared for the workforce upon graduation. And now I'm going to pass it back to Juliana to provide some real world examples of students and community partnerships that we've had in the past.
Thanks so much, Deanna. So these are our good news stories, and they're just a couple of many that we have. And just further to me mentioning that we're putting some really high quality and keen students out into the world, we'd like to highlight one of our students, Jennifer Sato. So she was a fourth year teacher education stream student looking for a placement. So this is for curricular credit. And through the volunteer fair last year, we had one of our longstanding partners with the YMCA of the GTA and an wonderful employer, Steve Keller, who recruited Jennifer to do some youth outreach programming. And as you can see there from the quote at the top, she was incredible. Had she been bilingual, I would have pushed for her to replace me when I left that position. So that's incredibly high praise for a fourth year student. Obviously, she did some incredible work with the GTA. So we're really, really pleased and so thankful to have that wonderful partnership with the YMCA GTA. And the next slide, please. Another amazing highlight, especially coming out of the pandemic here, is one of our students, Matthew Urquhart. So he started in a business placement with Community Futures, which is a local organization here, a non-for-profit in Peterborough. And he was doing his placement, and he was so impactful, and the folks at Community Futures found him to be so incredibly helpful in their organization that they offered him a full-time job upon graduation. So, you know, not only are you getting these students that are fulfilling placements for the short term, but you really do have the ability to develop your talent pipeline. These students could turn into full-time employees and continue to benefit your enterprise and organization.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliana and Deanna, for walking us through not only experiential learning and the world of experiential learning, but also some of the many opportunities that are available to employers. And as Deanna mentioned earlier, one of those opportunities is an experiential learning type called community-based research. And so community-based research at Trent University has been going on for more than 25 years. And one of the organizations that facilitates that is actually located right within our Department of Co-op Careers and Experiential Learning here at Trent. The Trent Community Research Center facilitates community-based and community-directed research that covers Peterborough, the city of Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, as well as Durham, and of course, into Haliburton County. And Haliburton County actually has a unique program as well that's facilitated by our sister organization, ULinks. So this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about community-based research as one of the experiential learning types. I would certainly encourage you to visit our website, trentu.ca/TCRC. If you have any questions at all about getting involved with this type of experiential learning, please send us an email, tcrc@trentu.ca. Be more than happy to speak to you about opportunities. I love sharing this particular quote from one of our previous student researchers. They said, "Community-based research is more than a supplement to my education. It shaped how I look at the world, how I think, and how I interact with my community." And honestly, that is what we aspire to present, those types of opportunities for students in all types of experiential learning. You know, when we consider that experiential learning really is about extending the classroom and allowing students to really thrive and explore and discover mentorship, and all within the context of a professional or industry structured program, it can be really transformative for our students.
According to Carrie Strand and her colleagues, community-based research is a partnership of students, faculty, and community members who collaboratively engage in research with the purpose of solving a pressing community problem or affecting social change. Let's think about different types of research along a continuum. Conventional research is driven by the researcher. They develop the questions and methods, collect the data, and publish the findings in academic journals. Community-placed research is research that's conducted in or about a community, but is still researcher-driven. Community members may act as participants, but they may not be interested or invested in the results of the research. For example, a professor may want to know how effective a certain radio advertising campaign has been, so they interview people about their listening and shopping habits. Community-based research is research with the community. There's a mutually respectful relationship with community partners in identifying research problems, conducting research, analyzing data, and sharing findings with the community. Community-based research partnerships strive to involve all participants in each stage of the research. There are some key principles that distinguish community-based research from traditional research approaches. According to researchers Oshaka and Jansen, community-based research should be relevant, equitable, and action-oriented. Research is relevant when questions come from the community and when community partners create and share knowledge that is meaningful to the communities where they work. Research is equitable when all partners work to overcome the power imbalances between academic institutions and community groups by prioritizing the needs of the community and recognize that both researchers and communities have relevant expertise. Research is action-oriented when partners build on a community's strengths and resources, share knowledge and findings, experience mutual benefits from the research, and engage in efforts to make welcome change to the community. Community-based research can be highly collaborative, with all members of a team, community members, community partners, researchers, acting as equals in planning and conducting research, using funding and sharing findings to improve communities. For example, a team of students and faculty can work with community organizations over a long period, meeting regularly to define and reshape a project as research results come in. Community-based research can also benefit both students and communities. It can improve community well-being by bringing people with different expertise together to tackle problems. And it increases the relevance and the quality of the research. Students benefit by applying their academic skills and experience to understand and solve real-world community problems.
All right, so I'd like to thank Professor Stephen Hill, who narrated and developed a series of community-based research modules, that being one of them. Community-based research really is about bringing people together, and I think what we have often found is not only can the experience be transformational for the student, but it can also lead to direct community development. And so often the research that's initiated by an organization is also incredibly relevant to other organizations within the community. And I think that it's important to recognize that, you know, there's often a lot of research available at the provincial or national or even international level, but we don't always have relevant, local, timely research around our organizations, our operations. And so community-based research is really a way to bridge that gap. If there's research questions that you have as an employer, but don't have the time or the capacity to take those on, those are the types of projects that our students can really excel at. And I'm happy to share some of the different ways that students can get involved in their programs, in their departments. And actually most departments at Trent support community-based research in one form or another. Most of our students are third or fourth year undergrads, so they're very near to completion of their studies. And we draw students from history, cultural studies, environmental science and studies, sociology, math, Indigenous studies. The list goes on and on. The other neat thing that you're probably aware with Trent is that we really value interdisciplinary studies. So you may have a history student that's interested in working with you as a researcher. That student may also have a minor in business, or may have a specialization in political studies. So it's really interesting to see that the types of combinations of student researchers that are willing to take on these projects and quite passionate about the work that they're doing. At Trent, we actually have three what we call capstone courses, and these are really a significant course in the students' overall academic timetabling or academic journey. And we draw most of our students from these three courses: forensic science. And so those students tend to focus on projects that have a justice policy lens to them. We also have students within Trent's School of the Environment. So those would be our geography students, our environmental studies and environmental science students, as well as sustainable agriculture. And lastly, we also have a wonderful capstone program through international development studies. So in this case, we have students that normally work in groups of 2, and these students specialize in program evaluation. So you may have a program, if you're a not-for-profit, that's received funding from a private source or a government source. And you may want to demonstrate the efficacy of that programming to demonstrate its impact on the population that the programming is being delivered to. Especially if the funding is nearing completion, we often have organizations that will work with us, and they will say to us afterwards, wow, you know, I'm so glad that your students were able to come in and set up a program evaluation research study for us. The results have been able to allow us to apply for new funding to continue that programming. And the same goes as well for the for-profit organizations that we work with. So when we talk about the types of community-based research, as I mentioned, program evaluation is a big one. Who do we work with? Well, we work with for-profit organizations, like I mentioned. We also work with nonprofit organizations, conservation authorities, various environmental groups. We work with religious organizations. We work with all different levels of government at the local level, provincially, and nationally as well. And I would say that we also increasingly have strived to work with social justice organizations and our social service agencies. So a lot of the projects that we have increasingly have a very strong focus on community well-being, things like homelessness or youth justice, things like studying the impact of drug use, those sorts of things. So it really is a very wide-ranging research program that we have. We also have students that go out into the field and conduct research within lakes and rivers and wetlands and forests. So if you are interested in any of this type of research, please do reach out to us. Again, it's tcrc@trentu.ca. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a number of overarching goals to all of the projects. First of all, we strive that the research that's going to be conducted for you as a host organization is going to be incredibly thorough. So all of our students are supervised by faculty, and all of the research is done for academic credit. So the students are working very closely with the faculty to ensure that the research is discipline specific, that the methodology is appropriate for the type of research questions that you have that you're looking to have answered. And as I mentioned earlier, the outcomes of this research really are intended to have a positive impact on our communities. We often work every year with the same organizations. So some research builds on previous research that's been conducted, right? One student will complete a research project and they'll have recommendations. And so we'll work with the organization then to address the research questions that have come out of further study. And it really can be quite impactful for everyone involved. I wanted to take a moment as well and share some employer perspectives. This year we had just over 21 organizations that our students worked with. We had 41 students involved, and we had 21 unique and distinct projects that students worked on. One of these projects was for an organization based out of Ottawa, known as the ILIC Fund. And Lori and David Pelly are behind that particular organization. And the quote that they provided us, I thought was quite poignant. They said, "The ILIC Fund is extremely grateful to the TCRC for providing the opportunity to have an undergraduate student conduct a preliminary research project to lay the groundwork for a more advanced assessment of our initiative's impact on Inuit youth." Tia Bankowski, the research student, did a superlative job, a great credit to herself and the TCRC. And Tia is one of many student researchers that we have on board. Tia had a background in Indigenous environmental studies and was very excited and very passionate about this particular project and worked from September to April on this particular project. Another project that we had this year was completed by 2 international development studies students. Again, it was a focus on program evaluation, but it was a particular focus on an issue that is close to home for all of us, which has been in rural communities, the closure of banking institutions. So in this case, the students worked directly with Rhonda Keenan, the CEO of Peterborough and the Kawarthas Economic Development. And Rhonda provided the following quote to us. She said, "The students brought a fresh perspective and were able to tackle a problem that our communities were facing. The TCRC provides a strong process for working with students and setting realistic timelines and project deliverables." And I think that one of the things that both Rhonda and Laura and David have mentioned has to do with the connections that the students also develop over time within the community. And I think it's really important when we're talking about the Trent Advantage that we connect the preparatory skills that students have available to them during their time at Trent as a means, as Juliana mentioned, of developing out a talent pipeline. And in our experience, one of the best ways to foster a sense of community and pride in a community is for students to be able to roll up their sleeves and in their first, second, third, fourth year, even fifth year, get involved in these types of opportunities. And time again, we find this bridging between students that have had really meaningful and impactful opportunities in the community and then go on to secure full-time employment with the organizations that they've worked with. So at this point, I'd like to say thank you again for joining us with tonight's webinar. And we have some time left that we would really like to use to answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, I'd encourage you to please take some time to type any questions you might have into that Q&A box at the bottom. And Juliana, Deanna, and myself are here to answer any questions that you might have.
So with that, we do have our first question here. If Ryan or Deanna, one of you can take this. What is the difference between a co-op, internship, and field placement? Are these all the same? That's an excellent question and one that we get so often, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. So I'll take a stab at this. Ryan, definitely add anything that I miss. So a co-op is, the thing about a co-op is it's very specifically study, work, right? So you're always interspersing your study terms with a work term, and the work terms and study terms are 4 months each, right? So it's a really good opportunity to integrate your learning in the classroom with your learning in the workplace and have an opportunity to practice that through multiple different workplaces and really explore your different career paths. An internship, however, speaks to an experience that is longer in length. Usually internships are a minimum of 12 months. So they'll usually happen in between third and fourth year of a student's undergraduate degree. And a student will work with an organization for a longer amount of time, right? So it's a different type of experience to a co-op. Again, co-ops are the shorter amounts of time. Internships tend to be a little bit longer. So you get a different experience. You build a different set of skills because you're staying with one organization for a lot longer. And then the last one is field placements. And field placements are shorter opportunities. So they usually do happen on a term-by-term basis. And when I say term-by-term, let me just expand on that a little bit more. The school terms run every 4 months. So you have terms that start in September, January, and May. So that is usually when you can expect the students to start with you if you are looking for kind of a co-op or a field placement opportunity. And so field placements happen again on that term-by-term basis, and they're usually of a shorter duration. So you might have a student placed with you 1 day a week, right? So all of them offer different intensity levels and different ways of interacting with students. So it really speaks to what kind of work do you have at your organization and how can you best support a student? And so definitely reach out to us to talk about your needs, and we can help really figure out what is the best opportunity for you.
That's great, Deanna. And just to expand on that, I think this next question kind of relates back to the experiences that you just talked about. Are students expected to be paid for these experiences? So co-ops, field placements, internships, what are paid, what aren't paid?
You know, I do say that we should always try to pay students. That is, in an ideal world, we would love for every student that experiences one of these opportunities to get paid. Co-ops, I'd say, are generally the most common one where you would pay a student. There are a variety of wage subsidies available for these co-op opportunities that can help you pay students. Ontario also has a tax credit for hiring co-op students. So there is definitely a lot of opportunities there. As say field placements would be kind of the least likely to be paid. Usually students that are participating in field placement opportunities are also getting an academic credit. So that is kind of one form of payment. They are getting something in return for their experience. So again, would love to pay them as much as possible.
Yes, and obviously, you know, if a student's looking for summer work and just happens to find something in their field of study, they'll also be paid for that. And again, maybe Deanna, I'll keep you on the hook a bit. That just brings us to the wage subsidy. So for those employers that don't know, Deanna and myself and Ryan have worked really hard to establish really great connections with some government agencies that apply SWIP funding, which is student workplace funding. And so that offers a subsidy if employers are hiring a student, and that's a subsidy up to 75% of the total wage. And so if you would like more information on that, again, you can email us at experiential@trentu.ca, and we can put you in touch with those funding partners to help take care of your bottom line. So yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to add, Juliana, thank you for that response. And I would also just echo the comments that Deanna had. The type of experiential learning, the intensity of experiential learning is so diverse across the different disciplines that we have. And one of the reasons why we wanted to offer the webinar that we have is to really encourage a single point of contact as a starting point for our employers. So our email address, experiential@trentu.ca, is an email that is shared by the three of us. And we field all kinds of different inquiries, not just from organizations, but also from students as well that are looking to participate in these types of opportunities. So with community-based research, I think the question that was asked earlier around which types of experiences are paid versus unpaid, I think it's important to remember that most of the experiential learning types that we've talked about, would all be curricular, right? So they are all being done for academic credit. Now, with community-based research specifically, I would say most often those experiences are unpaid. The host organizations often are donating their time to mentor the students, to meet with the students approximately every 3 to 4 weeks. In some cases, they're, depending on the type of research that's being asked of the student, there may be some costs that are incurred, and often the host organization will provide a student with a refund for things things like transportation costs, et cetera. Certainly with COVID, we have pivoted our operations and experiential learning. And I know that that was a question that we had in a previous webinar. How have we adapted, or how have we changed? Have experiential learning opportunities had to be put on hold? And the answer really is no. We have kept going. We have innovated where possible. We have tried to take in-person placements and make them into remote, or also not just remote, but hybrid placements. So where possible, if the student can work in person, but maybe has to continue to work from home at some point, we have that flexibility, fortunately, built into a lot of our experiential learning opportunities. So I just wanted to share that with our employers as well. I know it's a question that we get a lot of.
And just while we're talking about employers and money, I think I did see a question there. Is there a cost to employers for any of the services that we offer them? So the job board to do your employer profile and post jobs, that's completely a free service that we're so pleased to be able to offer community partners and employer partners and industry partners. The cost to participate in recruitment events as of right now, well, those singular recruitment events, there's no cost to those, but there is a cost for taking part of our larger career fair. So we do ask employers to pay for their booth space, and we will have more information on that in the coming months when we start to plan that bigger career fair in the winter of 2022. Because the volunteer fair in September is mostly our non-for-profit organizations, we don't charge for that. We do realize, especially during COVID, that those folks have had a bit of a struggle with their bottom line. So happy to partner with them, happy to provide them an opportunity to be, and our students an opportunity to work together. And so there's no cost associated with that fair.
Wonderful. Well, I think we've reached the end of our time together this evening, and I'd like to again thank you for joining us. On behalf of Juliana, Deanna, and myself, Trent University and our Department of Co-op Careers and Experiential Learning, we are very thankful for your interest in our programs, and we are more than happy. We are excited, in fact, to connect with you in person where possible. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Experiential@trentu.ca is the best way to get a hold of us. I will say as well, tonight's presentation will be made available through our YouTube channel, and we will be distributing that to the many participants that joined us this evening. So if you'd like to share our video with colleagues that you think might be interested in some of our services, we would certainly encourage you to do that. Other than that, I'd like to wish everyone a pleasant evening, and we do hope to hear from you soon. Thanks so much. Take care.